We're on the chat right now.
The house is full. This is
Yep.
great. Welcome, everybody. It's great to see you guys. Monday night was really, I thought, a wonderful kickoff. The energy was great. It was awesome to get to meet you all and understand what your autobiographies would be. I thought that was a great exercise. We're going to go ahead and get started because it looks like the majority of us are here, and we want to be sensitive to time. So we're going to start off. Right, let's get here. Erica.
Welcome to the Advertising Club of New York. My name is Lee Nadler, and I'm super excited to be the new chairman of the board. I joined the Advertising Club more than 25 years ago as a young professional. And throughout my career, as I've made moves in agencies, media companies, and client brands, the Ad Club has been that one consistent fabric throughout. The club is all about educating, empowering, and celebrating our members. That's you. For us to continue to give to you, we want you to get engaged. From the celebration standpoint, we have the Ad People of the Year and Brave Brands. From an empowerment standpoint, we just started the 4th cohort of the Ad Fellows program, really getting young women in the mid-level of their career more involved in the industry to learn, to grow, to be empowered. This is part of the Ad Club Foundation, which has raised and donated over $10 million to date. And finally, from an education standpoint, the Ad Think and Vertical series are continually coming up with programs that involve leading marketers, agencies, and media companies. It's all about getting involved. We're going to celebrate you, we're going to educate the industry, and we're going to empower people to get to the next step in their career and bring people together. This is your club. Come get involved.
Hi, everybody. I'm just realizing that I know Lee for the 25 years when we were both young pros together. So we were in your shoes. I'm Gina Grillo. I'm president of the Ad Club. And on behalf of our team and our board of directors, we welcome you to the ad community. First, I just wanted to take a second to recognize the emotional state of our country, the impact that the pandemic has had, the murder of George Floyd. These are indeed very serious times. They're history in the making. And it is a moment that we have to ask all of ourselves, how are we going to show up?
Said, it's good to see young people care about their community or doing something positive.
Maybe, can you guys hear me?
We can hear you. Keep going, Gina.
Okay, yeah, I think we might have been a little Zoom bombed or something. Back to, you know, that this is history in the making, and all of us had to ask ourselves, how are we going to show up? And this program is part of how we show up. I know that this isn't exactly what any of us had in mind for what a summer internship would be. But I can tell you that Erica Riggs and Maya Rushing have worked so hard and so thoughtfully to bring you something that's comprehensive, that's hands-on, that is truly special. We're going to be providing you access, nurturing, learning, not only about yourselves, but about the industry. I really want to say and stress to all of you, make the most of each of these sessions. Each introduction that you make, and also know that you can reach out to the Ad Club team because we are all here to support you. This is our journey for the summer, and we're going to make it the best we can for you. To share more about what lies ahead, my colleague and friend and Foundation and Inclusion Director, Erica Riggs, is going to take you through. I'm excited, everybody. I hope you are too.
That's the name of the game. Let me unmute myself. Thank you, Gina. I'd like to also let you guys know that, because you're probably wondering, like, who and what is this all about? So the Ad Club of New York, along with our partners, the Growth Initiative, which you all have now had wonderful interactions with, and Save the Internships New York, have come together collectively to make sure that you all have a impactful and powerful summer. You typically get all of this training inside the agencies or the organizations that you work for, but we recognize because of COVID and everything else that's happening, you all weren't going to have that opportunity this summer. So we collectively brought ourselves together. So a lot of you all know a lot about the Growth Initiative. I wanted to make sure for those of you all who've come through the Growth Initiative only, that you recognize the Ad Club is also a partner and a wonderful connection to all that's going to be happening in the next 8 to 10 weeks. I say 8 to 10 weeks because I know the growth is 8 weeks, but the Advertising Club's program ends in 10 weeks. Okay, so I just wanted to let you all know that. So I wanted to also introduce, I have here on the call, I saw her face. Rebecca, did we lose you?
I'm here.
Okay, I wanted to introduce you all to Rebecca Revere, who you all may not have met at all, but Rebecca is the reason why Save the Internships New York took place and then became partners with us because of their wonderful call to action, if you will. So Rebecca, I'd like to give you a moment to introduce yourself and the program and offer a kind of an understanding to the students what will be available to them through the Save the Internships.
Sure, thank you, Erica. Hi everyone, in case you don't know me, I'm a advertising professional turned advertising prof. I teach at City College of New York and at City Tech. And I've also been involved in the past with the 3% conference. So for those of you who don't know what Save the Internships is, it's a response to agencies canceling internships this summer. Myself and folks, Mona Gonzalez over at Pereira Odell, were talking about a summer internship. And when COVID-19 hit and things got shaky, they started waffling. And I realized that this wasn't just one agency, but it was many, many agencies that were canceling internships and that we had to do something. So I implored them to not only go ahead and hire 2 interns, which they have done for the summer, but to stand up to the industry and to say that this isn't something that we should be doing right now, that we can cancel plans, we can cancel meetings, but we should not be canceling the futures and careers of young people like yourselves. So what we've been doing is we created a showcase site where students who are nominated and vetted by their professors have a profile, and then we're reaching out to agencies and to clients, you know, both sides of the advertising and PR coin, to try to get them to create internships. And so far we've placed 4 interns. We have a couple more who look like they'll be hired this week. And we're going to keep doing this and knocking on doors throughout the summer. And we're already starting to talk about fall internships. So if you're specifically a public university student, that's who we're giving priority. We are still accepting nominations for the fall. But more than that, the website SaveTheInternshipsNY.com is a place where you can also find all kinds of resources and events, including events that are created by our partner, the Ad Club of New York. There are also events like the Sunnyside Chats for the Growth Initiative, any opportunities that come up, like a PR certification program. So even if you already have your internship for the summer, or you're in a program, but you're looking for more resources and additional ways to get experience and make contacts, I'd invite you to go to SaveTheInternshipsNY.com and check it out. And if you always, if you have any questions, I'm also mentoring in the Growth Initiative. If you have any questions, concerns, comments, please feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn, or I'm all over social media. So thanks a lot, Erica.
Thank you, Rebecca. So we're going to be giving you all a lot of information, and we just want to put a face to the names, because we are making sure that you guys have a lot of information and a lot of experiences via virtually, but still, I think that's where we are right now. So I'm sharing the screen because you all are probably trying to figure out where you are. You are a part of the ad club, but you're a part of the foundation. The foundation is the part of the ad club that works with making sure that the workforce of tomorrow reflects all communities. We support and connect advertising, marketing, and media professionals along their career paths, including our internships. Let's go to the next. How do I? There we go. This summer, like I said before, we are collaborating with Save the Internships, New York, the Growth Initiative, MAPE, and The Only One There. This is so that we can make sure that the curriculum that we create virtually is as impactful as it needs to be, so we can prepare you all for the workforce. The curriculum is to make sure that all of the benefits that you would receive in person, you receive virtually. So we're going to work on developing your interpersonal skills, managing and assessing emotional intelligence, communication skills, leadership skills, adaptability, and problem solving. The format each week will be a tactical workshop. We call it if you all don't know, Robin Roberts is the news anchor on the Today Show. And her mom always told her to make her mess her message. And we will have several wonderful experts in the industry come and talk on several topics, but they're tactical workshops. And they are to be able to give you what you need in order to take away and use that immediately in your toolkit. Assessments. We're going to be doing a neuroscience NBI assessment, which Shamika Brown will be talking to you about in just a little bit. We're going to be doing up close and personals, which are going to be master classes from our industry leaders. And all of that will be done in breakout discussions. The real life hands-on activity, or for those of you all who are part of the Growth Initiative, some of you all, I think maybe with the exception, there are 2 of you all who would just be coming to Lunch and Learns. But if you're doing everything, the Growth Initiative, you all have already received your grouping and your groups, and you know that you're going to be working real life opportunity there. At the end, for those who have done pretty much everything that they need to do, we will then promote you to the Recruiter Roundtable, where you will actually be able to meet recruiters, talk to recruiters about what they're looking for, and possibly getting on their radar, so that when they start making their selections for their entry-level programs next year, you will be on the top of that list. We're going to do speed mentoring, a resume review panel. And so I'm not going to go over this detail for detail, but this will be coming out tomorrow. This is our syllabus, and just wanted to kind of show you what type of details are in the syllabus. We want to make sure that you recognize week 1, we're here, is the week of June 1st. You've already done your Growth Initiative. Today, you're in the Lunch and Learn. We did make a change today. We were going to start with the tactical workshop, but because of where we are today, we want to be sensitive. The world is not what it was a week ago. And so we're going to talk about that today, and we're going to go through an exercise. Once you all take your neuroscience assessment, we will then, in week 2, going to start breaking people out. You'll have groups, and that will be something that Shamika will also talk about. So you'll see over here that says a link in RSVP. Each week you will need to RSVP for the Lunch and Learn before Tuesday, 5 p.m. It's important that you do that. And there we go. The show flow is very similar. We start at 12 and we'll be done at 1:30. So without further ado, I want to just kind of give you guys how we came to understanding what the topic would be today. There's a lot of change happening, and I don't need to tell you, you guys are having to navigate during a time of uncertainty. And so we wanted to be able to be sensitive to the topic. We wanted to be able to provide you with some tools and some thinking around this topic and what you can do. So we brought our partners on early. Our partners are the only one there, Shamika Brown and Julius Dunn II. It's a neuro-based executive coaching, leadership development, and community engagement program. And I am going to now turn that over to Shamika and Julius.
Thank you so much, Erica. Thank you to the Ad Club. You've been early supporters, so it's our pleasure to be here with you today and welcome everyone to this incredible experience. Thank you so much for allowing us to be a part of it. Julius, whenever you're ready, you can share the screen. So we are the only one there, which is part of the adversity group. And what we like to do before I begin any of my engagements is to take some breaths. Because as you know, people carry energy and we're all carrying a lot with us this week. So if you could indulge me for 15 seconds or so. And also if you could unmute if you're in a space where there's no background noise. I want to hear you breathe, okay? And so what we're going to do is I'll guide you through it. We're going to take a deep inhale through the nose, and we will exhale audibly through the mouth. So this is everything that so if you want to the camera, I don't want people to see, but I'm going to close my eyes and get into the space, and you can get comfortable. Whenever you're ready, take a deep inhale and exhale everything. And inhale and exhale. And inhale and And thank you and welcome again to our presentation for the adversity group. So if we go to our next page, I am Shamika Brown, and I'm the CEO and executive coach of The Only One There. And this is a picture of me in 1999 when I graduated from the VCU Ad Center. And prior to this, I went to Syracuse undergrad, decided to study abroad my senior year in the fall in Zimbabwe. And I thought I could just put a portfolio together in the 5 months I had left. And they were like, no. So I graduated with no portfolio, aspiring copywriter, and no prospects. And that spring, I happened to see a poster for MAPE. And so I applied. I got an internship through the MAPE program, shout out to MAPE, and interned at a now defunct agency called NWA and Partners in Midtown in New York. I'm from New York. And that summer really cemented that I wanted to be a copywriter. So I was living at home. I worked, saved my money for a year, applied to VCU, where one of my professors from Syracuse had just quit to go teach. And I entered in the second class in 1997. And I graduated in 99. One thing that I will call out in this picture of me is the look of hope mixed with relief, mixed with exhaustion, mixed with excitement. I was really ready. to kind of take on the world, take on the industry. I landed at FCB in '99, and then within 6 months, I became the only Black person in my creative department of 180. Because the guy who had been there had just been promoted to this thing called digital. And we're like, oh, what's that? And so he was elevated and I was left. So within 6 months of being a junior, I was the most senior Black person. The following summer, when MAPE interns came, I became a mentor. And so I pretty much mentored for the rest of my career. Between '99 and 2014, I was a mentor. I worked at agencies big and small, general market, multicultural. I did some freelance stints when I had my kids. And most of it, though, I was the only one there, either as a person of color, as a Black woman, or as a mother. I was just this anomaly within the creative department, and it really shaped my experience. So when I was laid off from my last role, I had elevated up to group creative director. I was on the verge of burnout. I had a major life change in the end of my marriage, and I was like, reevaluated mode, and decided to freelance. So I've been freelance since 2014 and did it as a sole proprietorship. And Julius and I have been friends throughout this time. And he just got tired of me complaining about what people need to do and they need to do and da, da, da. And he's like, we just need to just do it. And so around 2016, he started building what became the Adversity Group. And a year later, I kind of caught up to speed and was like, hey, what you got over there? What are you doing? And with that, The Only One There was born in 2017. And so as a Black woman who looks younger than I am, when we have a space where a lot of people are adapting and adopting coaching, I knew I needed to have credentials in case somebody pulled my card. And so I found the coaching certification program at Columbia and decided to enroll, but I had to wait because it was so expensive. And as a freelancer, you know, I'm self-investing here. So a lucrative contract came. I started the program in April of 2019 and finished this past February, and now I'm certified. So I'm excited to work in this capacity with you, and really excited to protect hope. You know, the hope that is seen in this picture of myself. Because when I came out in 1999, everyone wasn't ready for me. The ad industry really wasn't ready for what I came to offer. And so my experience has shaped what we're going to create and share with you. And now we're working with organizations to help get them ready for you. And we're also working with incredible talent like yourselves so that you'll have a toolkit at your disposal if you land in a space and within an organization that isn't ready. You'll have what you need. So with that said, very, very excited to work with you all. It's a pleasure to meet you all virtually. And I'll turn it over to Julius.
Word. I think you said it all, girl. Can y'all hear me? Thumbs up if you can. Cool. All right, cool. So I am Julius Dunn II. And despite the fact that Shamika looks younger than she actually is, in 1999, I was in high school. So while she was graduating VCU, I was trying to graduate high school. So this is my high school graduation class of 2000. And equally as much, I was full of hope and really trying to figure out what it was that I was going to do. My backstory is that I was a artist, always been an artist since I was a wee little tyke. And when I was getting ready to go to college, I didn't really know what it was that I was going to do. I didn't know what advertising was, didn't know it existed, so on and so forth. The same narrative you guys have probably heard. Went to Florida A&M, FAMU, one time for the HBCUs. Majored in studio art, learned about advertising by way of marketing, transferred to Florida State to pursue it, graduated from Florida State, didn't know anything about MAPE, so my trajectory is a little bit less glamorous in comparison to Shamika's. In learning about advertising, I learned about the Creative Circus, which was in Atlanta. I also had a daughter in my senior year of college. And anybody who knows anything about education, more specifically portfolio schools, it costs like crazy. So I couldn't afford it at the time, but I ended up working for the organization. And so in doing so, I was able to take classes, and my pursuit was to be an art director. And the goal of it was to change the narrative of how people perceived people of color in media. And so with that being my pursuit, I started reading on, diversity in advertising. Lo and behold, 2007, 2008, I learned that there was a lack of diversity in advertising. There was also a lawsuit pending. And so in reading about it, I learned about Tiffany Warren, and that then started what now has become my career in D&I for the last 12 years. So I started a nonprofit in 2008 called Adversity, partnered it with the One Club in 6 months after starting it in 2008. That ended up leading to me meeting Shamika, who served as board advisory board member. And the partnership with the One Club ended up kicking off what now is known as the diversity initiative of the One Club. So the boot camps, the partnership with the Ag Color, so on and so forth, all of that came by way of the partnership that was spurred by adversity. Ended up leaving the One Club in 2009, went on to found 2 high schools in New York City, one Mecca, the other one the High School for Innovation, Advertising, and Media in Canarsie. Left there in 2015 to go to DDB, ended up assuming the position of Director of Talent, what really was more so the Chief Diversity Officer. They had never had a diversity officer in the history of the organization. And so diversity gets a negative connotation. And so I wanted to be very unassuming. I didn't want to alarm people. So I assumed the role of talent, which D&I should be integrated in all of that. But in doing that, I learned very quickly that the problem was not a very isolated issue. It was a systemic one. And so I left DDB in 2016 and have been on this 4-year journey to build what is now the Adversity Group. And we'll go through it a little bit today, but essentially we wanted to start the presentation off by showing you the hope that we have and we are fighting to protect, to Shamika's point. Because all of you, I'm sure, on your graduation day, even though it may look a little different for those that are graduating now, are filled with this hope. And so our goal and our job is to help protect that so that you can do and be whatever it is that you want to be. So without any further ado, we'll move through the presentation. So this screen is not a mistake. It is a part of the presentation. To some, seeing Black on a screen would be seen as a mistake, and without context, I could see how and why someone would think that. But no, I intentionally placed this Black screen here so you could hear me. I put it here to define what you're seeing on your screen right now. To some, this page is just the color. To others, it's how they're seen, Black. But what is Black? Like, who is Black? How is Black defined? And who wrote the definition? When you look into Webster, the definition of Black is dismal, gloomy, forbidding, like darkness, destitute of moral light or goodness. Continued on, mournful, calamitous, horrible, expressing menace or discontent, threatening maliciously. Black, just the color. Those are the definitions to define it. The same words and the same color used to describe George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, and so many others that look like me. Black. To some, seeing Black on the screen will be seen as a mistake. To some, seeing Black on the screen without context, I could see how you or others would think that. But no, I intentionally placed this here for you to hear me. I put it here to define what you see. Black. The same color millions have placed and posted on their Instagram screen as a sign of solidarity. Black. Last I checked though, my skin was brown and has always been. So how did I become Black? Why did I become Black? When did I become Black? And who wrote the definition? To some, seeing Black on the screen will be seen as a mistake, an interruption of life even, or this presentation. And without context, I could see how you would think that. But no, I intentionally placed this here so you can hear me define what you see. But I'd be lying if I didn't admit that I put this here with hopes that you see me. And given the context of everything that's going on, I really wanted to ground us in that to break the presentation up. Because everything we do is really about helping people see you and helping people see us so that we can all get to a place where we are better to collaborate in an industry that essentially is the arbiter of culture. So we'll move forward. Eckhart Tolle said, to reduce another human being to a concept means you've already committed an act of violence. And everything that we do as the diversity group is rooted in mindfulness. And mindfulness is really about, again, acknowledging who you are, acknowledging who others are, listening with intent, and not listening to respond. And so in doing so, we as the diversity group affect the ecosystem that is discrimination and not just the individual or isolated idea of what discrimination is. So I want to just take a moment to define those things. So starting with institutional discrimination, which the definition is really about identifying policies that establish superiority by systematically giving advantage to a certain agenda or group, which I think you guys can understand that, but to give some context, that would be like a school, place of work, government, so on and so forth. We also address interpersonal discrimination, which is negative or nonverbal behaviors of superiority that occur in social interactions. So that would be how men and women, or however you identify yourself sexually, interact with each other. And so we also have that as a means of what we provide as a service. We also have something and programs to focus on internalized discrimination. And so that's really looking at how an individual belief or inferiority when compared to others and or that equality is not attainable. So there may be moments where you feel like, you're less than yourself and less than other individuals just by way of the fact that you've internalized what it is that you've experienced. Some people have internalized what it means to be a Black woman. Some have internalized what it means to be even a white woman in some instances. But essentially what it is that we're looking at is the fact that everybody has felt the feeling of exclusion at some point. And so we really kind of get at the root of that feeling and give voice to that feeling so that you can get past what you've internalized so that you can be your best self. And then the final area of discrimination that we focus on is ideological. And so that's really looking at skewed perceptions of superiority based on academic analysis and public opinion. So that would be how we've all the things that we've subconsciously kind of consumed. So that's everything from the news to education that we've had, so on and so forth. Even Webster's dictionary, which is the cornerstone of education and how we all came to learn this language that we speak, which is English. So those are the 4 different areas of which we as the diversity group address. And essentially, like I said, the whole thing was to acknowledge the fact that systemic problems require systemic solutions. And so in growing frustration in the fact that a lot of organizations either don't want to work together because they're trying to protect the resources that they fight for, and or they are, in it for the wrong intentions, what we wanted to do is figure out how we can build something that could be a safe haven, but also a platform for organizations, individuals, so on and so forth, to come together and really address these topics and these situations and these systems that have been long established. So that's how we got to Diversity Group. So the mission of our organization is collectively committed to fostering a culture of inclusion. We do so by way of a portfolio of partnerships and programs designed to help shift the human paradigm in overcoming the influence of implicit bias caused by systemic discrimination, which I basically just went through the system of what discrimination is. So the Diversity Group is made up of 4 entities, really 5. One of them is the only one there, which we'll go into in a second. But we address each of the different levels of discrimination with each of these different entities. So the first is a company called Culture, which is looking at institutional discrimination. So we work with organizations to help in terms of engagement strategy, process improvement, and employer branding. So essentially that's about priming the environment so that they are in a better position to absorb the change that they seek, as opposed to just saying they want diversity. We try and prime the environment so that you're able to stay there and feel included while being there. Moving on to Noisms, which is less of a business and more of a program. And that's really focused on cultural immersion and community building. So that's looking at interpersonal discrimination and bias and helping kind of build, if you will, that connective tissue so people can better understand each other and better understand how to connect and build community in a meaningful way. Moving into the only one there, which is executive coaching and leadership development, which all of you will be a part of. And Shamika is our executive coach and CEO of that entity. And then all of that is supported, helps all of the resources that we're able to garner through those entities go to support our corporate social responsibility initiative, which is Beats Per Minute. And essentially that organization is established to help provide equitable access to mental health and wellness for underserved communities. So that is the group that is known now as Diversity Group. Our approach is we take a human-centered approach to provide equitable solutions that draw from principles of neuroscience to help clients connect, reflect, and respect difference. And so in doing so, our value proposition is really simple. We help make diversity rhetoric real. One of the things that you guys will see, hopefully not too often, but a lot of people will use the word diversity. A lot of organizations will use the word diversity. Sometimes you'll find that they are extremely dedicated to it, like organizations like the Ad Club. And you'll have some organizations and individuals that aren't that dedicated to it. And it'll be really obvious in how they move. And so what we try and do is not necessarily kind of cut those organizations off, but we serve as support to either complement things that they say that they represent, or we help them build systems so that they can actually be the change that they seek or say that they want. And the reason why discrimination is such a big thing to overcome is essentially they block creativity, productivity, collaboration, and innovation. And when you look at advertising and what it is that we represent, all 4 of those things are pillars of what we are as an industry and what you should be as individuals and arbiters of culture. And so that's why we're here. That's essentially the support that we want to provide. So Shamika's going to go through what your 10 weeks is going to look like. But essentially, I want you to understand that we as a group and me as an individual and Shamika also serve as a means for you to help, to more successfully navigate your career, either in or out of an organization. We'll always be here as a support for you, and that those contacts will be made available throughout the program. And hopefully I look forward to building relationships with each of you throughout the program.
Great. So one of the things that I love doing as part of The Only One There is really creating space. I love creating space for people to think about themselves. I think in life we move so fast and are so focused on all the things that have to get done that we don't really pause enough to dream a bit for ourselves. So over the next 10 minutes or so, what I want to do with you is a visualization exercise. So you can get your notebook and your pen ready. or you can do it on your laptop. But what I want you to do is take the next minute or two, we could say two, to fast forward 6 months from now, okay? And in that time frame, life is as great as it possibly can be. Your 8 to 10 weeks here has been amazing, and everything is exactly how you would imagine and want it to be. And over the next 2 minutes, write down or sketch what you see. And this is for yourself. If we have time, we can ask for a couple of shares, but really for your own purview. If life is as good as it can be in 6 months, what's happening? What does that look like? Okay, hopefully you've had a chance to begin to think about what that looks like. And if you haven't had enough time to really flesh out what you see, feel free to return to this exercise after this lunch and learn, because this can be an ongoing project for you, okay? So that initial goal was just to kind of imagine what that looked like. What does success look like? What does ease of life look like? And then if we go to the next slide, the next step is to consider what bold move you had to make to get there. Because if life is as amazing as it could be, it might be different than what you see today. So what step, what bold move did you take? It could be one or it could be more than one to get you to that place. So feel free to take the next minute or two to think about that and write that down as well.
Shamika, will we be able to share out with a couple of people?
Yes, absolutely.
Great.
Okay. So again, if you need more time, feel free to come back to this question later. It may unlock some things that you hadn't considered or thought about doing. So this is a good one. Okay, and flipping to the next. Now, think about your allies. Think about your friends, think about your family. Who in your circle can help you get there? Just jot down some names, but really examine and be expansive and who can help you. In thinking about this one, sometimes you might find the list is very short, and then sometimes you might realize it's actually bigger than you think. So feel free to continue on this one. And then next, how can you help yourself? In looking at the list of those who can help you, what is within your power to do to make this happen for yourself? I'm sitting here doing this exercise with you, and one of my coachees once told me, feel the fear and do it anyway. So that's what I just wrote down, that I could become braver than I've been. So again, if you need more time, feel free to come back to this. And then lastly, next slide. Think about one action that you can take today to get started on realizing the vision you have for yourself. One thing that you can do. Could be as simple as an email, a phone call, a list, something tangible and doable that you can make as a first step. And again, if you need more time to come back and consider any part of this, feel free. It's an exercise that you can do just to temperature check, gut check yourself. Are you on track? Are you going and achieving and doing things that are getting you toward your goal? But there's always an opportunity to begin. So hopefully you're able to take something out of this exercise. And this is the type of work that I do with my coaching clients, because again, it's safe space for them to kind of not worry about anybody else. So these are the types of conversations we have. So just a little sneak peek of what a coaching experience can be with no one. So thank you for giving yourself that time. Okay. Julius? So as Julius mentioned, we have several areas that we focus on. And this summer, we have ways that we're going to touch upon all of them with you. So the first area is the ideological space of discrimination and bias. And with that, our approach will be the MBI assessment. Next slide.
And, oh.
So we love this assessment because it's around thinking preferences. And so everyone who's a part of the Growth Initiative and the Lunch and Learn Academy will have an opportunity to take the assessment and receive your own profile, which will look something like this. It's a 4-quadrant profile. And this assessment is rooted in neuroscience. And I'm just fascinated by the brain and how it works and how bias can form. And so we'll take a deep dive into the profiles as a group. You'll receive your own prior to our breakout. And then I'll take you through the actual assessment, what it means, how to read it. You'll be able to have a moment to go through your own quadrants to see if it jives with who you are and or who you wish to be. It will explain things of like, that's why I'm always procrastinating. Oh, okay. That's why, you know, I will sacrifice everything for everyone else and put myself last. Or that's why I have so many ideas and I just can't seem to explain them effectively. Or that's why I always need a plan. So after this call, and probably by tomorrow, you'll receive an invitation to take the assessment. The assessment is 10 to 15 minutes to take. And then ahead of the breakouts that we'll do across the next 4 weeks, you'll get your assignment in terms of which week you are assigned to. And when you arrive, beforehand, we'll email you the assessment and then I'll take you through it as a group so that you all leave with a better understanding of how you think and why you think. If we move to the next slide, the reason we do this is because it's a key tool in understanding how you think and a way to begin to gain insight in how others think. And that can really improve your interpersonal and communication skills, especially in advertising and media, where communication is everything. And if you are on the creative side where everything is so subjective, it gives you a kind of game plan of how to actually sell in your ideas and make more meaningful connections in the workplace and outside of it, quite honestly. Again, it also helps to help you begin to mitigate your own unconscious bias, because we all carry bias. And when we stop and look at the brain as a functioning organ and realize that there are things that were in place before we were born, and then there are things that came into place based on how we live our lives and the experiences that we had, you realize you can have way more in common with someone than you would have automatically assumed. And that's because your bias has come into play and it's kind of clouding the fact that, wow, you make a list to start every project like I do, right? Like it's just, it can open up a wonderful door. So You'll be getting the information. I hope you complete the assessment so that we're able to take you through it and really give you a deeper experience into your mind. Next slide.
Can I add something here, Shamika? So for those of you all who are part of the Ad Club and the Growth Initiative, we are paying for this assessment. So you must do the assessment, and that is a part of the 10-week program, so we expect that. There are other programs that are going to be joining in, people from MAPE and other, and we're going to be working with those organizations later for their groups to be taking it. But for right now, those of you all who are in the Ad group, the Ad Club group, and Growth Initiative, just know that we're speaking directly to you, okay?
And if there's anyone else who is not a part of either of those programs but is interested, please reach out and let it be known, and we can have a conversation offline. Okay. Next slide. So for interpersonal discrimination, across our 10 weeks, this will take the form of a NOSMS conversation. And it's really around intersectionality, and it's a hallmark program of ours that creates safe space. Again, to dive a little deeper than you probably would or are accustomed to doing. And so here we'll explore envelope pushing topics based on current events. In one of them, Julius used some clips of Lizzo as we talked about sizeism, which led to a very spirited conversation. We'll also unpack the complexity of discrimination in many forms. So a lot of isms may come into play, and it's both sides of it. So, you know, the sizeism encompass fat shaming and skinny shaming, because we don't typically think of both. But in a no-isms conversation, you do. And so lastly, you'll also become an active listener. So you're able to connect to others that have different points of view, again, in ways that you may never have before. Next slide. In terms of internalized discrimination, this is where some of the coaching comes into play. For us, it will come in the form of an exercise around the personal brand. So personal branding is a super hot topic. Everybody's like, my brand, I am a brand. And people want a website, they want a shirt, they want this, they want that. And as a writer, my first question is, that's cool, but what are you saying? How are you different? What are you bringing? So through a series of exercises, which will be done offline because y'all have a lot to learn, we'll introduce the next segment of the exercise ahead at the top of 4 of your lunch and learns, and it will be something that you'll have to complete like homework before the next lunch and learn. So we won't be taking you through it in real time, but this is an exercise that you can do on your own, where we're going to help you develop your personal brand mission, vision, and values. And then you'll translate those qualities into your brand value proposition, and then ultimately craft an elevator pitch to help you celebrate your unique difference and possibly use that in any types of interviews or conversations you may have at the tail end of the 10 weeks. Next slide. Back to Julius.
So, as you can see, your 10 weeks are going to be very robust, to say the least. Again, to Erica's point, this is not necessarily how I'm pretty sure you all envisioned, and I'm sure the Ad Club didn't envision that the internship program would take the shape that it is. But I can assure you that we will and have been working tirelessly to bring forth learning that will help you in your careers moving forward, and honestly help you in life moving forward. I can say, as founder of the Adversity Group, we've been very intentional in making space for all of the initiatives, partnerships, and entities that we have as flagship entities make sense. and helping make diversity rhetoric real. But really, I wanted to take a moment to talk about the only one there, and what Shamika does by way of the neuroscience approach. I really, in creating the brand for the only one there, we really talked about how everyone is a one of one. Everyone is a one of one. It's not about Black or Indian or white or male or female or trans or gay or queer or whatever you want to consider yourself or identify as. It's really more about, again, getting past the feeling of exclusion that everybody has felt, and acknowledging and celebrating your difference, because everyone is different, even when you're in groups that seemingly are identifiably the same. Even in your own families, still different. So we really want to help provide the tools, again, for you to, in the context of this internship, better navigate and be stewards of culture in an institutional way. And from an industry standpoint, you guys will be leading and be arbiters of culture, as I've said before. You all will potentially and may already be working within institutions and contributing your insights. And so what we want to do is, again, help ground you in mindfulness, consideration, and empathy, so that you move forward through the world in a more aware or self-aware manner. So our contribution as the adversity group to the Ad Club Lunch and Learn Academy are these three things. One of them being to help you understand diversity and the lived experiences of others who are different. The second is to explore culture and how intersecting identities shape the way we experience the world. And the last is to build community by getting involved and forming meaningful relationships. And the last one is surely one of the more important ones, for sure. As somebody who's been in the business for 12 plus years, Shamika's been in the business for 20 plus years. We definitely have leaned on each other, not just as it relates to professional things, but personal things. And sometimes those things blend. Like sometimes you can take things from your personal life and bring them in the workplace, and sometimes take work and take it home. And so who you have as your network and your allies, and your board, your personal board of directors, is going to be really important for everyone. Even if you feel like you're a part of the majority, at some point you're going to feel the exclusion and you're going to need that support regardless. And so again, really wanted to emphasize that building community by way of getting involved and forming meaningful relationships is really what all of this is about. And it's the reason why we want you guys to build those connections within this internship and make sure you walk out of this experience with, 50 plus connections that you didn't have before. To that end, I want to leave us on this note, and just say that, Shamika and I, although we have a 7-year age difference, she was graduating college or with her master's degree, and I was trying to graduate high school. We ended up crossing paths. So who knew 20 years ago, we would be the first of our families to graduate college, of our immediate family to graduate college, she and I both. Fast forward 10 years from that moment was our first encounter. So she served as a board member for an organization that I started. Had no idea who she was prior to that. And this was a celebration of the anniversary of adversity at that time. She hates this picture.
Hi. Working, y'all. They were working me.
But fast forward from that 10 years later to now, we've now become the first to do it. We've been the first to create what now is a systemic solution to a systemic problem in the adversity group. She also is one of few, not just a creative director of her stature and level, but she also is now one of few, if not the only that I know, that's an executive coach that is also a creative. And so I say that to say that relationships that you build can take you some amazing places. Where you start is not necessarily where you finish, will never be where you finish. And so the goal of it is to, again, build as many networks and connections as you possibly can, because you never know where they could take you. And in our case, it took us to being recognized as innovators by the Ad Club. So thank you, Ad Club. But I do want to say that, you know, the thing that connects Shamika and I more than anything is that we both strive to be the first, so we are not the last. And I implore you all to do the same. And so we as the diversity group open our doors for you to join our community after the experience with the only one there and all the other entities and programs that we have as a part of the diversity group. Please join us on LinkedIn. We have a community of support for you to complement or supplement the community that you may or may not have, so that you are living your best life and being your best self. So that concludes our presentation.
Thank you. I know we have a few minutes. I don't know if we can open it to questions. If anybody would like to, we could probably enter it into the chat maybe. Or Maya, you tell us the best way to do a quick Q&A if there are any questions.
I want to say something. I would like to introduce my second half, my better half, the person who makes all of this possible that I didn't give the shine to in the front. Maya, where are you? I'm looking at so many wonderful faces. I don't see your face right now.
I'm right here. Hi, guys. If you guys have a question, let's just start off by clicking the raise hand button, which you can access by going to more. Or maybe the applause button. I guess I don't see the raise hand one right now. But either way, just kind of indicate that you have a question and Jimmy can call on you by your name.
I don't have a more button. Does anyone else have a more button?
Yes. All the way to the right. I just want to, this is Gina. I just wanted to thank Julius and Shamika. You guys have brought so much to the table, and we're so thrilled to be working with you and knowing you for as long as I know both of you. I'm just really proud of you both, and I just wanted to say that.
Thank you.
So, thank you, Gina. So, anybody, we would like to open this up. Any confusion, any questions? This is a good time to ask your questions, and we'd love to just maybe even hear your voices.
Yes, please.
Or anybody want to share from the exercise also?
I would love to thank you guys for, I know like right now the events are horrible, and this is a great session which helped me like to understand that I want to learn more about diversity, inclusion, and I wrote down that today I'm going to open up Google and Google everything I can about, you know, diversity. And for me, it's a very important subject because like I'm an immigrant. I understand how it can be painful for the people who live in this country and, you know, not being accepted by the citizens of this country. So it's what I wrote from the session. Open and Google everything you can about this topic. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. That warms my heart. Take it and do it.
You made me tear up, really. So Julius, when you were having your speech, I was just sitting and imagining everything, and just like made me very emotional, I guess, and very vulnerable. So thank you.
You're welcome.
You have a skill for that. Thank you, Olga.
I want everyone to know also too, like, again, the conversation of diversity and inclusion is really about engagement. Honestly, everybody is a one of one. So Olga, diversity and inclusion is equally about you. It's a celebration of your story. No one has your story. You said that you're an immigrant. Arguably, you could say I'm an immigrant, but my story is not the same as yours, and it's not the same as Erica's, not the same as Shamika's, it's not the same as Maya's. So I just want everyone on this call to know that, you know, as you guys move up the ranks, because the goal of internships and the goal of you going to school is that you assume positions of power. And so my idea is that everyone on this call at some point will be a part of the C-suite, God willing. And so when you are ascending in your careers, know that, you know, the conversation of diversity and inclusion is not one that's separate of yourself. It actually is inclusive of who you are. So please do not think that this is something that's an isolated experience of which then you put in a bucket and you open when it's convenient. Just like these protests, you know, people are not necessarily protesting an isolated situation. They're protesting a systemic issue of which everyone can either be a part of the solution or part of the problem. So I just want to say that to say, you know, moving forward, if you feel like this conversation, and I don't think that that's the case, but if you feel like this conversation is one that doesn't pertain to you or is about another group of individuals that you're not a part of, that's very wrong. And by the end of these 10 weeks, we hope that you walk out of it understanding that it's as much about you as it is about us. So
yes, it's about everyone. So completely agree.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Thank you. Thank you so much.
I'm so sorry.
Tamika, I have a question for you. Oh, sorry, Makita.
Oh,
You could go.
okay, thank you. Okay, so I just wanted to just thank you both for this like really intentional space that you guys created for like vulnerability and honesty and, you know, clarity and insight. I'm new to advertising. I've only been an ad student for like 9 months, but my undergraduate was in political science and sociology and working with groups that talked about intersectional racism and feminism and all these things. And I did not know there was space for that in advertising because I had not seen that within my school. So it was really important for me to like have this conversation with you guys, and I can kind of see like a future that's more inclusive. I asked this question to a speaker last week, and I want to ask it to both of you. I want to understand what your idea or what you envision for the future of diversity in advertising. What does that look like?
Well, for me, I feel like there was the affirmative action push, right, of this late 60s, 70s, early 80s, and then came the diversity results, like a lot of diversity programs popped up in the 80s, 90s, and 2000s. And so I feel like the next step is inclusion, because the diversity programs haven't been enough to create that sense of belonging, that sense of place and purpose for everybody who walks through the door. So I see that as the future. I'm not sure if a lot of organizations are ready to take it there, but that's why we're here. Because the belonging piece, you know, me feeling as my whole self when I come to work is a privilege that I've only experienced a handful of times. And if we are truly talking about creating space, then I should be able to feel that way every day. So that's what I see next.
I think the flip of that too is getting people to understand that even though they've been the recipient or on the receiving end of exclusion, they themselves have to check their own privilege. So everything that we do is really about, you know, two sides of the coin. So even as a African-American man who at the time, obviously everyone knows, you know, that is attached to disparities and discrimination, so on and so forth. Even within my own community, there are things of which I take for granted of my own privilege. I'm able-bodied, you know what I mean? Like, so I was asking this question to somebody the other day when I was like, you know, when you go into a building, are you outraged when it doesn't have a handicap ramp? And it's like, how many people don't think about that? But I can assure you that the person who is not able-bodied is thinking about that. And so just to provide context, you know, that's a feeling of exclusion that you may not feel because you have your own privilege. But there are people in this world who the building represents the access, and because you don't have access to it, it's a hot topic for you. But when it's not a hot topic for you, how enraged, how much of an advocate, how much of an ally are you for those who don't have access to that? And so again, this is really about, you know, elevating people's understanding of what the feeling of exclusion is, creating space for people to have those conversations, and understanding more than anything else that we're all human, and bias is something that you are programmed to have, but mitigating and managing it as a means to be able to successfully navigate through the world in your career is something that we're focused on trying to help you guys do. So for me, the answer to inclusion, or the future of diversity, is really about, again, having conversations about both sides of the coin, and not victimizing or villainizing anyone, but really kind of grounding the conversation in the fact that we all are biased. We all are.
I love, Julius, what you say, because I think it's very obvious right now as we look on our televisions, or as we've actually witnessed personally in the protest. I'm gonna call them protests and rebellions, because we are seeing more than ever that it's represented by everyone. Everyone is walking together. What a beautiful sight. People are waking up. People are actually having the conversations. I never thought I'd get to a point where I would say that my phone is blowing up because people want to know how they can help, what they can do. So it's a wonderful time. I think your generation for sure is going to benefit from this moment and from this exercise that Shamika and Julius are going to take us through. And just to be clear, they are absolutely an integral part, and they're also, in addition to the up close and personals and the tactical workshops, okay? So I want you all to make sure that you understand this is all designed. This is all designed to make sure that when you leave in this 10th week, you will have a very 360-degree understanding, not only of the industry and the tactical aspects of it, but the internal thinking, so that when you do become a manager, when you do rise up in the ranks, that you have a better clarity and a moral compass that will make sure that you see diversity not as a byproduct, but as something very intentional. Because it's very easy to lose sight of your privilege when everything is going well. And so that's what I have to say. I believe Ezra McNeil had his hand up.
Oh, Julius, can you stop sharing?
Oh, yeah. Sure.
Yes, I did. How's everybody doing? Thank you guys so much for this this great presentation. My question is, I usually like hearing stories, you know, of people's journey, you know, through their work. So I know you guys have been working in this industry for, you know, 10+ years. So a question for either one of you, you know, what was a moment in, you know, during your journey that you felt, you know, I guess sort of down and out, but you persevered, and like it was really a lesson for you to keep you pushing to this day?
You sound like you have an answer.
I mean, I feel like some of our answers overlap, but you can start it.
You know, I think for me, there was a moment in 2016 probably, where I was freelancing. I've been involved in, you know, MAPE, and, you know, I'm mentored, and I'm this and I'm that, and like, you know, people know me in the city, and I couldn't get a freelance gig. And I'm like, I'm a part of all these networks. I do this, I do that. I'm seen, I'm Black, I'm female, you know, and nobody was checking for me. And it was a really humbling moment, because it was like, oh, wow. Everybody is like, hey, girl, hey. Oh, yeah, we need to have lunch. We need to do this. And then when I needed help, when I needed support, when I needed to connect, I couldn't get it. And so I had to dig deeper and expand my network, hustle harder, make it through because I was the only income in my house. And eventually, I made it, right? And then it became Black female creative du jour. Like come 2017, clients were demanding. They wanted a creative director across the table who they could have a conversation with about the targets that they were going for. And suddenly my phone was ringing off the hook. And by then I realized that I had to find my own way. And so I decided who I wanted to pick up the phone for. And in that moment, it was like, oh, you weren't checking for me a year ago, but now you want me to come in, now you want me to do this, now you want me to do that. So it was a great full circle moment because I was down. I'm like, oh my gosh, like what do these relationships mean if I'm not getting the support when I need it? And it just taught me to dig deep, taught me to rely on myself, taught me to take what people say at face value and really look at who's with me when I'm at the bottom. And that's who I'm going to take with me to the top. So.
Girl, you better preach. I think my story is, so when I came into the game, I was 26 years old. I had never lived in New York. I'm Southern, so I had no desire really to move to New York. And I, again, I was an art student. I mean, I didn't go to school for business. So I started a nonprofit out of passion because I saw a problem and I wanted to create a solution. And it just so happened to be at the right time where the topic of conversation was diversity and inclusion. And the organization of which I had partnered with was the hottest thing in the street as it relates to creative. So everyone, to Shamika's point, was blowing my phone up like, yo, let me, what's up? Let me get down with the program, blah, 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 right? Nobody knew who I was, but everybody knew my affiliate.
Everybody knew my affiliate.
Uh-oh. So year and a half, I was able to achieve a lot of things and I built a lot of relationships. And that led to a lot of growth for the One Club. And they currently are still kind of eating and benefiting off that growth. And the relationship that we had forged was only meant to be a 2-year partnership. But the goals at which we set out to achieve pretty much were all achieved in faster time frame than we thought that we were going to. And so we ended up dissolving the relationship. And all of the relationships that I thought that I had weren't solid, to Shamika's point. And you realize very quickly that you really there's no such thing as safe space at all in a professional environment. Now we can create space for conversation as it relates to sensitive topics, like we've talked about intersectionality, so on and so forth, but know that people in that room, because we're all human beings, are going to absorb what is discussed. And so when you take even out the context of that, when you move through your career, people absorb who you are, how you present yourself, things you say, so on and so forth. So let that be a life lesson. One that I learned the hard way, in that I was 26, 27 at the time that the organization dissolved. And I learned that business is business. Business is business at the end of the day. And unless you have something of value for other people, 9 times out of 10, they ain't checking for you. So you have to learn how to be self-reliant. You have to learn how not to put so much, weight into what people say. And at any and every given turn that you can, learn how to be your own esteem. That's why they call it self-esteem. Be the esteem of self. And then also build a community around you. So, in the 3 key takeaways, I said, building your community and building your network of people who are aligned with who you are as a person and as a professional. So important. And it doesn't have to be this expansive list. It just needs to be a quality list. It's not about quantity. And so Shamika, for me, is one of those individuals. I think that I'm one of hers. And that's why I started this by laughing, because a lot of the stories that we would probably share as moments of adversity, shout out to Adversity Group, overlap. They overlap because we either experienced them together or we held each other up to get through them. So.
Hey guys, I want to be respectful of your time because, you know, this is an hour and a half, even though what we're saying, I believe is interesting and engaging. And trust me, from looking at y'all's faces, it really feels good to see that you truly are engaged. But even the best of us get a little antsy. So 1:30 is our promise to hit the finish line. I'd like to see you guys get up, stretch, move, do whatever you need to do. So excited to have each and every one of you all a part of this program. We will be there will be recordings of what happened today, but we're also going to be sending out a package to you, which will include the topics, the syllabus, and so forth and so on, to keep you all up to date and to know what's happening. If there's any questions, you feel free to reach out to myself, Erica Riggs. Who am I? Erica at theadvertisingclub.org and Maya at theadvertisingclub.org. Until we meet again, have a safe and have a safe and healthy week. Thank you.
Thank you all.